Hey, okay, real quick, we are going to talk about something that you saw on one of your worksheets the other day, and it was asking about a graph's end behavior and then intervals. So intervals of increasing or decreasing. So let's take a look what that means. Let's start with end behavior. End behavior is shockingly simple, and it's exactly what it says. It's the behavior at the end of the graph. And when we refer to the end, we mean on the x. So if we have a graph that's doing this, okay, if we have a graph that's doing this, where are the ends of the x? Well, the ends of the x are over here, right? So also, we need to keep in mind that on the x, your values, right, you have like 1, 2, 3, and then it eventually goes out here to infinity, and over here it goes to negative infinity, and then the same is true on your y. It goes up to infinity and then down to negative infinity. So our end behavior, we're talking about what's happening as x approaches infinity. So we kind of write that as a sentence. We can either say x approaches infinity and y is doing what? What's our function doing? Our function is increasing. So you can kind of write that as a sentence. Y is increasing. Or you can say that y is approaching infinity. And then you can also say over here, you need to talk about the other side too. And you would say, as x approaches negative infinity, what's y doing? Y is decreasing, right? Those are options. Another way you can write that is with this notation that kind of has arrows in it. And we can say the exact same thing by saying as x approaches, and that this arrow means approaches. So as x approaches infinity, y, or what's another way to write y, f of x is approaching where? F of x is also approaching infinity. So you can write it either way. On this side, same deal. As x approaches negative infinity, so x approaches negative infinity, y, or f of x, is approaching negative infinity too. Okay, so end behavior is literally what's happening at the end of the graph on the x-axis. So you tell us, as x is getting closer to infinity, what is the function doing? That's all there is to it. Now, interval notation. So let's say we have a graph. I'm going to draw a very similar looking graph, and let's say our graph looks like this. Whoop. All right, here's our graph. Our graph, if we're going to read our graph from left to right, right? We always read from left to right, just like a book. So where on our graph is it increasing? So I want to know, here's what I'm looking for, the intervals of increasing and decreasing. This is my goal. This is what I want to know. So I want to know where my graph is increasing. So where on this graph is it moving upward? Well, it's moving upward right here. And then what happens? It starts moving downward, and then it turns and goes upward again. So where is the upward is my increasing, right? Oops. The upward is my increasing. So it's going up here. Oh, and then it hits the top of the mountain. And then it starts going down. So then it starts decreasing. But then it turns and goes up again. So these are the intervals of where it's increasing. The green is increasing, decreasing. So my question is, like, where is that happening? So what is this point here where it kind of, what's this point where it switches? This is, I don't know, let's call this -1. And then it also switches right here. We'll call that 5. So remember what we just talked about. Over here is negative infinity, and this side of my graph is positive infinity, right? So our intervals are again based in x. So my green part, this green part, the increasing portion goes from negative infinity all the way to negative 1. So negative infinity to negative 1. And then that happens again over here from 5 to infinity. So 5 to infinity. So these are increasing intervals, and we put brackets around them. And I know it looks like a coordinate, but it's not a coordinate. It's telling you where it starts and where it ends. Starts and ends. And because we asked you about an interval, you can assume these are intervals and not coordinates. So I'm increasing on the interval from negative infinity to negative 1, and I'm increasing from 5 to infinity over here. Now, where is it decreasing? We can say the same for decreasing. Decreasing is happening where? Read from left to right. Where's my decreasing start? It starts at negative 1 is where the red starts, and it goes to 5. So I have 2 intervals of increasing and 2 intervals of decreasing. That's all there is to that. I hope it's clear.